everyone, and welcome to the KateAnnFit Macros Masterclass. I am so excited that you're here, and I cannot wait to teach you all about macros. But the first thing that I really want to get into is why they matter and what they are. So macronutrients are three essential types of foods, if you will, that we eat. So there's protein, fats, and carbs. And the reason they're important is because through a balance of these three types of foods or categories of foods, you can actually see incredible weight loss, fat loss, and muscle gain. So they're pretty much essential in your current goal of any sort of weight loss or fat loss and muscle gain because what's going to happen by balancing these macronutrients, you're going to be able to understand your food a little bit better, feel less hungry, even if you're in a calorie deficit, and see a substantial change in your body composition overall. After this masterclass, you are going to understand what macros are, how to use them in your day-to-day life, and best of all, how to finally get the body composition you've been looking for purely from balancing macros in your life. Okay, so let's get into it. When we talk about weight loss, rather than talking about just a calorie deficit or a calorie surplus, what we really need to understand is energy balance. In order to lose weight and lose body fat, you need to be in a negative energy balance. Macros are energy that are chemically formed. So when you consume them, you're providing energy to the body. And when you're doing any sort of exercise or breathing or anything like that, you're actually expending energy in some way. People often say that you have to burn more than you consume, and that's how you lose weight. That concept is true, but it makes it sound like you can out-exercise a bad diet, and you can't. It's not just as simple to eat less and lose weight, and that's probably why you're here, right? Losing weight and losing body fat requires you to be in a negative energy balance. So yes, you do have to technically be burning more than you're consuming, but again, this is a very variable concept that's going to change based on the day and also based on your body composition in general. That's why it's really important to think of this as a balance as opposed to just calories in, calories out. Because yeah, you can get a bunch of different calculators and try to figure out how much calories you burn and how much calories this exercise burns through tracking on whatever app. And honestly, none of it is going to be particularly accurate, and you're just going to continue to get frustrated because you're going to continue to suppress your calories and eat less and feel hungry and unsatisfied, and then lo and behold, gain all that weight back. So the tricky part is that when you eat less, your body's actually going to adapt to that, and it's going to be able to survive off of less calories. So after a certain amount of time, that calorie intake that you're consuming, even though it's less, it might become maintenance for you. Since your body will know that it needs to hold on to that energy because it's only being fed a certain amount, it's going to adapt to that and be able to live just off of the energy that you are feeding it. Your body wants to be at equilibrium. It doesn't care about your abs. Right? So it wants to be at equilibrium, so it's going to continue to adapt and change to make sure it can stay that way. This is why a lot of the times when you're eating the same amount of food, you're doing the same amount of exercise, and your daily life styles haven't really changed, at some point you're going to plateau. Even though you had been seeing weight loss, you might plateau and not see any more weight loss because that balance is no longer negative. It might be equal or even higher at this point. So the first thing that you have to understand is what your body needs in order to maintain your current weight, and from there you can start to reduce your caloric intake. This requires a lot of trial and error, and honestly, one of the easiest ways to be able to distinguish that is working with a coach who can really understand the energy output that you have and how much you maybe should be consuming, but also someone who is less biased can really help guide you on what calories you should be eating and sticking to a plan, so that way you're not constantly going rogue and never really finding out where you need to be. So let's talk about the first macronutrient that I love to talk about, protein. It's arguably the most important macronutrient when it comes to weight loss, fat loss, and you guessed it, muscle gain. It's also one of the biggest buzzwords in the fitness and nutrition industry. Every fitness person on the planet is going to tell you that you need to eat more protein and that's how you're going to lose weight. I am no different. This is a true fact. You're going to have to eat more protein in order to lose body fat and increase muscle mass. But let me give you a really good understanding as to why. All of the tissues in your body is actually made up of protein. And it's reinforced by protein too. It's essential in creating hormones and enzymes. And don't worry, if you're a client of mine, we're gonna be adding some hormone and enzyme videos into the Client Hub soon. Stay tuned for that. So when you eat protein, your digestive system has to unfold the protein. Then it goes into the small intestine and different enzymes will break it down into amino acids. Again, another buzzword, something that I'm pretty sure you've heard before. Maybe you've heard of BCAAs, branched chain amino acids. There's about 20 dietary amino acids. 9 amino acids are essential, which means you need to get it from your diet and our body cannot actually produce it. Once you have these amino acids, they will go into the liver and they will do one of 3 different things. They'll be synthesized into new protein, they'll aid in gluconeogenesis, and the rest are released into the bloodstream. Okay, so now we need to talk about protein synthesis or anabolism, because a lot of people think that you need a certain amount of protein to eat in order to turn on anabolism, but that's just not true. Anabolism is when your body uses your body fat for energy, where catabolism is when your body feeds on your muscles for energy. We want anabolism because we want our body to be effectively using body fat as opposed to feeding on our own muscles for energy. This is just another balance in our system. So it's never turned off or turned on. What it is promoting one over the other. So by increasing your protein intake and doing that consistently throughout the day, you're increasing your anabolism. So you're increasing the chances that your body are actually using its body fat for energy and decreasing the chance that your body is feeding on its muscles for energy. You're always in one state or the other. You can't turn it on and off. And again, that is why we want to increase our protein intake and make sure that we're having full sources of protein throughout the entire day. Another myth is that there is a max protein absorption, and this is simply not true. There is an amount of protein that your body needs in order to emphasize anabolism, but if you consume more protein than that, your body is just going to take it and be able to use it for other functions. That's just not how it works. The protein is going to be absorbed and then it'll just be on its way doing one of those 3 main pathways we just talked about. Like I said, protein is one of the most important macronutrients that you want to emphasize. And if you take anything out of this masterclass, it's to make sure that you increase your protein intake. And if you don't know how much protein you should be consuming for your own personal self, feel free to reach out to me, join my Facebook group, and I will do a free macro consult for you. Protein is the most satiating macronutrient. So satiating means that your brain is being signaled that it is full and no longer hungry. So when we are increasing our protein intake, we're going to be decreasing our need for additional calories as well, which ultimately is going to help us lose weight and feel full and feel better and have more energy throughout the day. Okay, so let's move on to the next macronutrient, and honestly, my favorite to eat, carbs. Carbs get some of the most hate, and I'm pretty sure it's one of the most controversial macronutrients in the fitness industry. But it's the body's primary energy source. When you consume carbs, it's broken down into its simplest form. Carbohydrates are turned into glucose, which yes, is sugar, and no, it's not bad for you. From there, it will go into the small intestine and then the liver, and then will complete a series of 3 things. First, it will be stored in the body as glycogen, either in the muscle or in the liver. Then it will be released into the bloodstream. And if there's excess, it will be stored as body fat. When carbs are released into your bloodstream, insulin is produced in order to bring that glucose into a cell. Carbohydrates get stored as body fat when there is excess sugar in the blood and not enough insulin being produced to remove that sugar from the bloodstream. So let me just say that again. The only time carbohydrates are stored as body fat is if there is excess in the bloodstream, which means you are consuming an excess amount of calories overall. And that is when it is stored as body fat, thus making you gain weight. Your body actually requires a certain amount of glucose to function, which is why all carbs are turned into glucose. When needed, amino acids, aka protein, can actually be turned into glucose as well. Your brain, your nervous system, your red blood cells can only use glucose to function. So yes, even if you're in ketosis, your brain, your red blood cells, and your nervous system will turn amino acids or fats into glucose in order to provide energy to it. Also, during high intensity, short burst energy exercise, your body requires glucose in order to perform it. Your body will utilize glucose in order to perform those actions. You can perform these actions without glucose, but you're going to be hitting a wall much faster. So if you're a sprinter or someone who does a lot of short, high intensity exercises, this is something that you definitely want to consider. So carbohydrates do go more in depth because fiber is also part of carbohydrates. But honestly, this class would be way too long if I started going into fiber. So if you're interested in learning more about fiber, I do have a course inside of my client hub that goes into fiber and why it's so important in our diet. Reach out to me if you're interested in learning more about that, and I got you. All right, so let's talk about the last macronutrient, fats. There are two main different types of fats. There's saturated fats and unsaturated fats. Saturated fats are solid at room temperature. Unsaturated fats are liquid at room temperature. Fat is an incredibly important macronutrient as well because it's required for cell membrane integrity or structure. It's also a source of energy for the body, and it helps create some hormones, and actually our brains are 60% fat. When you digest fat, it goes into the small intestine and then it's emulsified, and that is so gross. But this process increases the surface area of fat, which actually helps make it satiating or filling as well. And it's also why it takes a little bit longer for it to digest. Fats can either be absorbed through the lymphatic system or it can be stored intramuscularly. When it's stored, it's actually used for endurance energy or because there is excess in the bloodstream. So your body will store what it needs for endurance energy as you've trained it to need certain amounts of fats for that. But if you eat it in excess, just like carbs, it will actually be stored as body fat as well. Fat is important for your overall diet as well, just as the rest of the macronutrients. And again, it's all about an energy balance. There is so much information in my client hub, and I can't wait for you to check that out. But ultimately, I hope this class has empowered you to really understand macronutrients, why they're important for the body, and what they can really do in order to help you achieve the results that you're looking for. The biggest takeaway is that you need to be in a negative energy balance in order to lose fat and build muscle. But that's going to look really different for you than it is for me or any of my other clients. So if this is something that you just haven't been able to figure out and you really want to get your hands on, feel free to reach out to me. The link to do a free personalized fat loss guide is below, and I would be more than happy to just kind of talk through everything with you and give you some ideas on where you can get started. You can also join my Facebook group. We have a community of people that are looking for accountability and just to get better each and every day. We do monthly challenges in there to help you improve your overall lifestyle. And just for joining, I'll make sure that I give you custom macros as well. But if you are ready to take on this journey with me and truly get the results that you are looking for, then I am so excited to work with you. There's a link on this video for you to be able to get started with that. We will have a really in-depth call about your current lifestyle, and I will build a completely custom workout program for you, daily habits, and nutrition plan for you that will be so easy to execute. It will be foolproof. You can expect results as long as you are willing to commit to the process. I am going to do what it takes to get you there. We have an app, a community. You're going to have everything in one place and super easy to follow. And weekly, you'll get check-ins from me to make sure that I'm not just holding you accountable, but giving you a detailed breakdown of your week to help you improve week over week so that we are maximizing your results. Reach out to me so that we can get you going. Signing off, this is Coach Kate. I'll talk to you soon.